Radhe Radhe, Dandavat Pranam. Welcome to Shri Shri Radha Vinobihari Mandir, Shri Vrindavan Dham. Srila Gurudeva ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Rupanuga Gauriya Guru Varga ki jai, Patipavana Shri Nityananda Prabhu ki jai, Prem Purushottam Saci-Nandana Gaura Hari ki jai, Radha Vinobihari Ju ki jai, Radha Ramana Ju ki jai, Giriraj Maharaj ki jai, Harinama Sankirtana ki jai, Hare Krishna Mahamantra ki jai, Madhaviti Ekadashi ki jai. Today is Mohini Ekadashi. Shri Mohini Ekadashi ki jai. Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Nitai Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bol.
Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam. Sudevi, did you ever find the other flute?
No.
We'll have to research again. So we will begin with Mangalacarana, the auspicious invocation, calling on the grace, the mercy, the presence, the shelter, the sidelong glances of our beloved Gurudev, our beloved Srila Prabhupada, our Rupanuga Gauriya Guru Varga, Patipavan Shri Nityananda Prabhu, Prem Purushottam Saci-Nandan Gaura Hari, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, going all the way back to the original Guru who is Krishna himself, and his Guru of Prem, Vrishabhananandini, Srimati Radhika. As Krishna says, and as is told in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Radhikar Prema Guru Ami Shishyanata. Krishna is saying that Radhika is my Guru of Prem and I'm simply her dancing pupil. She makes me dance according to her tune. So, we will call to them in this Mangalacharan, found within this beautiful bhajan treasure trove, Sri Gaudiya Giti Gucha, page 1, Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam. And Jiva Pavana Prabhu has already very kindly posted it here. So thank you Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam. Oh, and also Sonam. Sonam, we did look for lotuses today. They did not have them available, but they had available for Thakurji all sorts of beautiful jasmines and roses and other flowers. So whatever is available, this is what Krishna is arranging. So we are doing our best to offer them beautiful flowers every day. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Kamalam Shri Guru Vaisnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagano Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvetam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagano Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitangscha Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Shri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Narayaniti Namine Shri Krishna Leela Katane Sudaksham Audarya Madhurya Gunaishcha Yuktam Varam Varenyam Purusham Mahantam Narayanam Tvang Shirashan Namami Tridandinam Bhakta Shiromanim Cha Shri Krishna Padabjidataikahriddi Chaitanya Leelamrita Sarasaram Narayanam Pang Satatam Prapadye Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nittinamine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Gaurapreshthaya Bhutale Shri Srimad Bhakti Pragyana Keshava Yittinamine Atimartyacharitraya Swashritananchapaline Jivadukhe Sadartaya Shrinama Premadayine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Tinamine Shri Varshabhanavi Devi Dayitaya Kripabdhaye Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Dayine Prabhave Namaha Madhuryojvala Premadhya Shri Rupanuga Bhaktida Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namostute Namaste Gauravani Shri Murtaye Dinatarine Rupanuga Virudhapa Siddhanta Dvantaharine Namo Gaura Kishoraya Sakshat Vairagya Murtaye Vipralambhara Sambodhe Padambujayate Namaha Namo Bhakti Minodayo Sachidanandanamine Gaura Shakti Swarupaya Rupanugavarayate Gauravirbhava Bhumestvam Nirdeshtha Sajanapriya Vaisnava Sarvabhoma Shri Jaganathayate Namaha Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanang Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaurathvishe Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kantha Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Jayatang Surato Pangor Mama Mandamatergati Matsarvasva Padambojo Radha Madana Mohano Divyad Vrindaranya Kalpadrumada Shrimad Ratnagara Sinhasanastho Shri Shri Radha Srila Govinda Deva Preshthali Sevyamanu Smarami Shri Mandra Sarasarambhi Vangshivatatatastitaha Karshan Venu Swanair Gopir Gopinatha Shriyestunaha Vrindaye Tulasi Devyai Priyayai Keshavasya Cha Krishna Bhakti Prade Devi Satyavatyai Namo Namaha Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhaktarupaswarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Cheto Darpanamarjanam Bhava Mahadavagni Nirvapanam Shreya Kairava Chandrika Vitaranam Vidyavadhu Jivanam Anandam Buddhivardhanam Pratipadam Purnamritashwadanam Sarvatma Snapanam Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam Harir Nama Harir Nama Harir Nama Eva Kevalam Kalo Nastyeva 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 Gatiranyatha Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Dandavat Pranam. Please bear with me today. It has been an exceptionally dusty one. I've mopped the floor twice and still it is dusty. And for us that's great because it's all Braj Raj, the dust of Vrindavan, but it does make it a little bit more difficult to to breathe and also to sing. So okay. So we will continue with calling out for the mercy of Shri Gurudev, and we are going to start today with Shri Guruvashtakam by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Sangsara Davana Lalidhaloka, page 255 in Shri Gauriya Gita Gucha. And all of Guru Tattva is present within this one Ashtakam, all in condensed form. Very powerful and quite complete. Dandava Pranam all Vaishnava. 255 Sangsara Davanala Lidhaloka by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Sangsara Davanala Lidhaloka Tranaya Karuna Ghana Ghanatam Sangsara Davanala Lidhaloka Tranaya Karunya Ghana Ghanatam Pratasya Kalyan Gunarnavasya Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam Praptasya Kalyan Gunarnavasya Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam Mahaprabhu Kirtana Nritya Gita स्वादित्रमाद्यं मनसोरसेनो महाप्रभु कीर्तननृत्यगीतो स्वादित्रमाद्यं मनसोरसेनो रोमाञ्चकं पाश्रुतरङ्गभाजो वन्दे गुरो श्री चरणारविन्दं रोमाञ्चकं पाश्रुतरङ्गभाजो वन्दे गुरो श्री चरणारविन्दं श्रीविग्रहारा धननित्यनाना शृङ्गारतन्मन्दिरमार्जनादो श्रीविग्रहारा धननित्यनाना शृङ्गारतन्मन्दिरमार्जनादो युक्तस्य भक्तांश्च नियुञ्जतोऽपि वन्दे गुरो श्री चरणारविन्दं युक्तस्य भक्तांश्च नियुञ्जतोऽपि वन्दे गुरो श्री चरणारविन्दं चतुर्विधा श्री भगवत्प्रसादो स्वाध्वनतृप्तान् हरिभक्तसङ्गान् चतुर्विधा श्री भगवत्प्रसादो स्वाध्वनतृप्तान् हरिभक्तसङ्गान् कृत्वैव तृप्तिं भजत सदैव वन्दे गुरो श्री चरणारविन्दं कृत्वैव तृप्तिं भजत सदैव वन्दे गुरो श्री चरणारविन्दं श्रीराधिका माधवयोरकारो माधुर्यलीला गुणरूपनाम्ना श्रीराधिका माधवयोरकारो माधुर्यलीला गुणरूपनाम्ना प्रतीक्षणाश्वादनलोलुपस्य वन्दे गुरो श्री चरणारविन्दं प्रतीक्षणाश्वादनलोलुपस्य वन्दे गुरो श्री चरणारविन्दं निकुञ्जयूनो रतिकेलिसिद्ध्यै यायालिभिर्युक्तिरपेक्षणीया निकुञ्जयूनो रतिकेलिसिद्ध्यै यायालिभिर्युक्तिरपेक्षणीया तत्रातिदाक्ष्या अतिवल्लभस्य वन्दे गुरो श्री चरणारविन्दं तत्रातिदाक्ष्यादतिवल्लभस्य वन्दे गुरो श्री चरणारविन्दं साक्षात् हरित्वेन समस्तशास्त्रे उक्तस्तदा भाव्यत एव सद्धि साक्षात् हरित्वेन समस्तशास्त्रे उक्त तस्तता भाव्यत एव सभी किन्तु प्रभोर्य प्रिय एव तस्य वन्दे गुरो श्री चरणारविन्दं किन्तु प्रभोर्य प्रिय एव तस्य वन्दे गुरो श्री चरणारविन्दं यस्य प्रसादात् भगवत्प्रसादो यस्य प्रसादात् न गति कुतोऽपि यस्य प्रसादात् भगवत्प्रसादो यस्य प्रसादात् न गति कुतोऽपि ध्यायंस्तुवंस्तस्य यः शास्त्रिसन्ध्यं वन्दे गुरो श्री चरणारविन्दं ध्यायंस्तुवंस्तस्य यः शास्त्रिसन्ध्यं वन्दे गुरो श्री चरणारविन्दं 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 गुरुदेव जय गुरुदेव गुरुदेव जय गुरुदेव गुरुदेव जय गुरुदेव गुरुदेव जय गुरुदेव जय प्रभुपाद जय प्रभुपाद प्रभुपाद जय प्रभुपाद जय प्रभुपाद जय प्रभुपाद प्रभुपाद जय प्रभुपाद गुरु परंपरा गुरु परंपरा परंपरा गुरु परंपरा गुरु परंपरा गुरु परंपरा गुरु परंपरा गुरु परंपरा श्रील गुरुदेव की जय श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय रूपानुग गौरीय गुरुवर्ग की जय श्री गुरु परंपरा की जय Dandava Pranam. Now we will call for the mercy of the Vaishnavas. A Baro Karuna Koro by Srila Narottam Das Thakur, A Baro Karuna Koro, page 44. Or whatever Jiva Pavana Prabhu posts. He kindly posts the bhajans in the comments section of the thread, along with their translations, and frequently followed by beautiful commentaries from our acharyas. এবারো করুণা করো বৈষ্ণব গোসাই এবারো করুণা করো বৈষ্ণব গোসাই পতিত পাবন তোমা বিনে কেহ পতিত পাবন তোমা বিনে কেহ এবারো করুণা করো বৈষ্ণব গোসাই এবারো করুণা করো বৈষ্ণব গোসাই কাহারো নিকটে গেলে পাপ দূরে যায় কাহারো নিকটে গেলে পাপ দূরে যায় এমন দয়ালো প্রভু মুখে বা কোথা পায় এমন দয়ালো প্রভু কে বা কোথা পায় গঙ্গার পরশ হইলে পশ্চাতে পাও গঙ্গার পরশ হইলে পশ্চাতে পাও দর্শনে পবিত্র করো এ তোমারো দর্শনে পবিত্র করো এ তোমারো হরি স্থানে অপরাধে তারে হরি নাম হরি স্থানে অপরাধে তারে হরি নাম তোমা স্থানে অপরাধে নাহি কোয়ে রাম আশা চরণের ধূলি ও প্রতি জন্মে করি আশা চরণের ধূলি নরোত্তমে করো দয়া আপনার বলি নরোত্তমে করো দয়া আপনার বলি এবারও করুণা করো বৈষ্ণব গোসাই এবারও করুণা করো বৈষ্ণব গোসাই পতিত পাবন তোমার বিনে কেহ নাই পতিত পাবন তোমার বিনে কেহ নাই জয় বৈষ্ণব ঠাকুর জয় বৈষ্ণব ঠাকুর বৈষ্ণব ঠাকুর জয় বৈষ্ণব ঠাকুর জয় বৈষ্ণব ঠাকুর বৈষ্ণব ঠাকুর বৈষ্ণব ঠাকুর জয় বৈষ্ণব ঠাকুর প্রভু কৃপা করো মোরে দয়া করো 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 অবৈষ্ণব ঠাকুর কি জয় पुनीत शर्मा हरि बोल धन्यवाद प्रणाम all वैष्णव And now we will call for the mercy of Sri Rup Goswami Pad in the form of Shuniyachi Sadhu Mukhe Bole Sarvajan by Srila Narottam Das Thakur, page 51. শুনিয়াছি সাধু মুখে বলে সর্বজন শ্রীরূপ কৃপায় মিলে যুগল চরণ শুনিয়াছি সাধু মুখে বলে সর্বজন শ্রীরূপ কৃপায় মিলে যুগল চরণ আহা প্রভু সনাতন গৌর পরিবার Prabhu Sanatanu Gaura Parivaro Sabe Mili Vancha Purno Guru Hoyamaro Sabe Mili Vancha Purno Guru Hoyamaro Shri Rupero Kripa Jeno Ama Prati Hoya Sudevi Shri Rupero Kripa Jeno Ama Prati Hoya Se Padaya Shrayo Jar Se Se Padaya Shrayo Jar Se Mahashaya Prabhu Lokanatho Kavi Sange Loya Jabe Prabhu Lokanatho Kavi Sange Loya Jabe Shri Rupero Pado Padme More Samarpide Shri Rupero Pado Padme More Samarpide Heno ki hoibe moro Narama Sakhi Gane Heno ki hoibe moro Narama Sakhi Gane Anugato Narotame Horibe Shasone Anugato Narotame Horibe Shasone Shuniyachi Sadhu Mukhe Bole Sarva Jano Shri Rupa Kripayo Mile Mangalacarana Shuniyachi Sadhu Mukhe Bole Sarva Jano Shri Rupa Kripayo Mile Mangalacarana Rupa Sanatan Jaya Rupa Sanatan Rupa Sanatan Jaya 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 Rupa Sanatan Prabhu He Prabhu He Prabhu He Prabhu He Oh Prabhu He Prabhu He Prabhu He Prabhu He Shri Rupa Goswami Prabhu ki Jai Shri Sanatan Goswami Pad ki Jai Shri Rupanug Guru Varga ki Jai Shri Rupanug Guru Varga ki Jai Did I say Shri Goswami Prabhu? Suddha Bhakata Charana Renu Bhajana Anukul Okay. We're having a little bit of a delay here, just making sure everything's working okay. Shuddha Bhakata, Charana Renu, page 216, by Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur. The Ekadashi song. Yes, Anjali Anjali. Because there we have Madhavatiti Bhakti Janani. Actually, there's another one called Shri Hari Basar, but it means the days of Hari, and that one's quite long. But we always sing this one on Ekadashi, and a lot of times I sing the other one too, but I'm not going to sing it today. Shuddha Bhakata Charana Renu Bhajanayanu Kula Shuddha Bhakata Charana Renu Bhajanayanu Kula Shuddha Bhakata Charana Renu Bhajanayanu Bhakata Charana Renu Bhajanayanu Bhakata Seva Parama Siddhi Premalati Karamuna Bhakata Seva Parama Siddhi Premalati Karamuna Bhakata Charana Renu Bhajana Anukula Shuddha Bhakata Charana Renu Bhajana Anukula Madhavati Bhakti Janani Jatane Palana Kori Madhavati Bhakti Janani Jatane Palana Kori Krishna Vasati Vasati Boli Paramayadare Boli Krishna Vasati Vasati Boli Paramayadare Boli Gaurayama Sabasthane Paralo Brahmanarange Gaurayama Je Sabasthane Paralo Brahmanarange Se Sabasthano Heri Boyani Pranayi Bhakata Sange Se Sabasthano Heri Boyami Pranayi Bhakata Sange Mridanga Vadyo Shunite Mono Avasara Sadajache Mridanga Vadyo Shunite Mono Avasara Sadajache Gaura Vihito Kirtana Shuni Anande Hridoyanache Gaura Vihito Kirtana Shuni Anande Hridoyanache Jugala Murti Dekhiya Mora Paramayananda Hoya Jugala Murti Dekhiya Mora Paramayananda Hoya Sakala prapancha jaya Prasado seva korite hoya Sakala prapancha jaya Jedino grihe bhajan dekhi Grihete goloka bhaya Jedino grihe bhajan dekhi Grihete goloka bhaya Charan sidhu dekhiya ganga Sukhana sima payo Charan sidhu dekhiya ganga Sukhana sima payo Tulasi dekhi churayo prano Madhava tosha nijani Tulasi dekhi churayo prano Madhava tosha nijani Gaura priya shaka sevane Jivana sarthaka mani Gaura priya shaka sevane Jivana sarthaka mani Bhakti vinod Krishna bhajane Anukula payo jaha Bhakti vinod Krishna bhajane Anukula payo jaha Prati divase parama sukhe Svikara koro yetaha Prati divase parama sukhe Svikara koro yetaha Shuddha bhakata charana renu Bhajanayanu pura Shuddha bhakata charana renu Bhajanayanu pura Bhakata seva parama siddhi Premalati karuna Bhakata seva parama siddhi Premalati karuna Shuddha bhakata charana renu Bhajanayanu pura Shuddha bhakata charana renu Bhajanayanu pura Madhavati di jai ekadashi Madhavati di jai ekadashi Jai Madhavati di jai ekadashi Madhavati di jai ekadashi Jai Madhavati di jai ekadashi Madhavati di jai ekadashi Jai Madhavati di jai ekadashi Madhavati di jai ekadashi Madhavati di ekadashi ki jai Shuddha bhakata charana renu ki jai. Without looking down at the book, the first person who can write in English what is the meaning of Shuddha bhakata charana renu will get fresh watermelon. Jiva Pavana Prabhu. Jaldi karo. Right now it's watermelon season in Vrindavan. They've got about 7 varieties and a few different varieties of cantaloupes and different melons everywhere. Shuddha Bhakata Charana Renu. So that bhajan, very good. Krishna Prema Bhati Devi Dasi Ki Jai. Would you be a little bit kind and share a drop with Jiva Pavana Prabhu? And you also. Okay. I notice whenever he posts, he gets little watermelons, and whenever I say something, I get little strawberries. Okay, ठीक है. So today is Mohini Ekadashi. I don't know what it is in the rest of the world, but here in Vrindavan, according to the local Vrindavan calendar that Srila Gurudev authorized by the medium of Mangalacarana Prabhu, we are following Mohini Ekadashi today. I know in some places it's a Mahadvadashi that they will be following, and in other places it might be the Ekadashi there today. But this Mohini Ekadashi is particular. Every Ekadashi has its specific gifts that we know about. This particular one I have read, Sri Ram asked the Guru of Ayodhya, Maharshi Vashisht, what is the best kind of vrat one can do to attain the highest benefit and also to remove all kinds of difficulties and woes? And Maharshi Vashisht told him that he should follow this Ekadashi, Mohini Ekadashi. It is said that Mohini Murti, the feminine form of Lord Vishnu, manifested on this day. So it is called Mohini Ekadashi. Mohini Murti was manifested at the time when the demons and the demigods were churning the ocean of milk to receive somras, the nectar of immortality. As they were churning, so many things came out. With the good also came the bad. The bad was this very deadly poison that was so toxic that it was threatening to destroy the entire universe. Who took it? Lord Shiva took it. He went to swallow it, but as he was swallowing it, he thought, oh, Krishna's in my heart. I don't want to create any difficulty for him, so he kept it in his throat, and because of that, his throat became somewhat burnt and turned a bluish color. So he is known as Nilkantha, means blue-throated one. So many different substances came, and finally Somaras came, the nectar of immortality, which the demigods and the demons were vying after. Each one wanted this nectar of immortality. So they were basically ready to battle it out. And Lord Vishnu took a very, very beautiful form, Mohini Murti, the form of illusion. Mohini means illusion. So the most beautiful feminine form, so attractive that even Lord Shiva was bewildered by seeing this form, because this is Vishnu's own Maya. Mahamaya is the shadow or the reflection of Krishna's Yoga Maya potency, but this is a particular form. If Vishnu wants to bewilder anyone, he can. Except for Srimati Radhika. Actually, he's Madan Mohan, she's bewildered, and he's bewildered by her. This is their eternal nature. But if he wants to bewilder anyone, he can. So he manifested this beautiful form of Mohini Murti. And she was carrying this pot of somaras between the demigods and the demons. And because she was so beautiful, everyone just wanted an opportunity to somehow see her and to please her. This is what happens when a beautiful woman walks into a room full of men and they're all attracted. They all kind of hope to get that sidelong glance of approval. This is what a Swayamvar is as well. All the most powerful men come, and the lady who has the garland gets to choose who she wants to marry, and they're all hoping it's going to be me. So all the demigods and demons were sitting on either side, and she was moving through, completely enchanting and bewildering their minds. And then she told the demons, I will give you after, but I'm giving it first to the demigods. So this Mohini appeared on this Ekadashi. And therefore it's known as Mohini Ekadashi. Also, what is Mohini? Mohini is the feminine form of illusion, who attracts and bewilders the mind. Now in transcendental subject matter, Srimati Radhika is the ultimate Mohini. Krishna, who is so beautiful, so attractive, that Kandarpakotika Maniya Vishesha Shobham, millions of cupids just faint at the idea of the effulgence that is emanating from his toes. Therefore he is known as Madan Mohan, the attractor, the bewilderer of the mind of Madan, who is Cupid himself. But Kandarpa Koti, millions of these Madans, Kandarpa and Madan is the same. Millions are completely intoxicated and lose consciousness at the beauty of Krishna, just the idea of the beauty. As Srila Gurudev said, if you could take, quote unquote, if you could take everything that is beautiful in the entire universe and condense it to even one point, that would not be as beautiful as even one particle of dust on the feet of Krishna. How beautiful is Krishna? He told this in South Africa, in the Gandhi Hall, in Johannesburg. So, Krishna is this Madan Mohan, but there is somebody who also bewilders his mind, and this is Madan Mohan Mohini. That is Srimati Radhika. She attracts and bewilders the mind of Krishna so much so that he forgets who he is. He drops his flute, he drops his mukut, he himself drops to the ground in complete fascination and bewilderment. It is her love, her affection, her beauty, her everything that completely captivates and controls him. Simply smelling the fragrance which comes from a distance, being carried by the breeze, he feels, now my life is successful. Now my life is successful. And he forgets everything. And he's begging for her foot dust. So this is the potency of Madan Mohan Mohini, the supreme attractress, enchantress, bewilderer of that Krishna. But for us, this Mohini Ekadashi has a very particular, special gift. What is that gift? If we honor and observe and worship this Ekadashi, Gurudev said, is non-different from Krishna. It is a manifestation of Krishna out of his causeless mercy to give mercy to the suffering jivas. That is us. Adhyatmic, adibhotik, adidaivik miseries. From the highest planet in the material world, Abrahma, Bhuvanalaka, Punar, Avartin, Arjuna, down to the lowest, all are places of misery. Whether we realize it at this moment, or we have experienced it in the past, or will experience it in the future, one day we will get it. We will understand that it is Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi, Dukkha, Doshan, Darshanam. Birth, disease, old age, and death. Suffering is there, and temporary flickering happiness. So, Mohini, this illusion, which is binding everyone in this world. How can one become free from that Mohini? By taking shelter of Krishna's transcendental Mohini. And that really is Srimati Radhika, or her own manifestation as Krishna's internal potency. When one takes shelter of that higher taste, then one can let go of the lower taste. So by following and practicing this Ekadashi, which is worshipable just like Krishna, Jatane Palana Kori, with great care and attention, then the bondage of materially deluding potency can be weakened, and our attachment to the transcendental deluding, I would say transcendental deluding potency, both are there. One is bewildering in a spiritual way, prema unmada, the madness of prema, and the other one is deluding in the material way, which is just nonsense madness, or what do you call it? Anyhow, it's just illusion and nonsense. All kinds of material, illusory things which are not real. So, this Ekadashi can help to bring us from this illusion to the transcendental prema. You can say the transcendental, I don't want to use the word illusion because it's not illusion. It's more real than anything else. But still, one is completely captivated by prema. And that is the whole purpose of following Ekadashi. Madhavatiti, Bhakti Janani. Ekadashi is like a mother, Janani. Why? Because if you follow Ekadashi, if you honor Ekadashi, if you worship Ekadashi by following a few simple rules and regulations, basically eating less, sleeping less, chanting more, meditating on Krishna and serving Krishna, Hari Guru and Vaishnavas more, that is Ekadashi, avoiding certain things and doing more favorable, beneficial things for bhakti, then what is the result? Bhakti Janani. Bhakti is given nourishment, like milk for a baby. That through that milk, all kinds of nourishment is coming, including all kinds of protection against diseases and everything. All kinds of nourishment. Full support is there in that nourishment. So by honoring and worshipping Ekadashi, which is a manifestation of the mercy of Krishna, not only will all negative things go away, this is what Vasishtha told Ram, all stress, all distress, all unfavorable and inauspicious things will go away, and what will come in its place? All auspicious and transcendental things. So our Gaudiya Vaishnava Acharyas, our Rupanuga Guru Varga have extracted from all of the scriptures all of those aspects that will all be favorable to help us run quickly on the path of devotion, to increase our thirst for Krishna Bhakti Rasa. Krishna Trishna. Krishna Bhakti Rasa means the nectar of devotional service to Krishna. And Krishna Trishna means that thirst for that. So all of the activities that they have given us on the path of devotion, all of those bhajana kriya, activities that are favorable for bhakti or bhajan, it's all to help us to increase our devotion to Krishna. One second. Somehow my connection is, maybe I ran out of data on my phone. Srila Gurudev said in Mathura, Keshavji Gaudiya Math, maybe 1998, 99 or 2000, I don't know, somewhere around there, that our Goswamis have extracted the essence of all the Vedic literatures. What they have given us, we can trust 100%. There are so many things that are told in the scriptures that might have some, say, extra juicy content to attract the minds of those who might be really bound in the material world. And so they might be a little bit of a storytelling, so to speak. Srimad Bhagavatam, we accept as spotless evidence, pramanam amalam, spotless evidence. It is completely pure and transcendental through and through, nothing to discard, therefore it is known as Amala Purana. Srimad Bhagavatam pramanam amalam, amal. If we are giving Bhagavatam that status as being amal, or without any defect or flaw, or completely spotless or pure, then it might be that other scriptures may have something in them which is not necessarily 100% The reason I'm telling it like this is because certain scriptures say certain things in them. They tell stories like Srimati Radhika is cursing someone. Srila Gurudev said, Vrishabhanu Nandini, Srimati Radhika could never curse anyone. Her heart is so soft. But sometimes these stories are there in the Puranas and other places. That is why it is essential that we're always under guidance of Sadhu Vaishnavas, who understand the context of all of these stories, why they're being told, what their purpose is. There are certain scriptures which are speaking to those who are in the mode of ignorance. Other scriptures are speaking to those in the mode of passion. Other scriptures are speaking to those in the mode of goodness. And others are speaking to those who really want to progress on the path of devotion. And then even within that, there are so many different levels. Not everything, or not everyone is qualified for every scripture. We're not qualified. I cannot say for you But we are not qualified to venture into, let's say, Ashtakaliya Lila Smaran. Without proper qualification and without proper guidance, it can actually have a detrimental effect to us. Uh-oh. Sorry. Okay, it seems to be working. So without proper qualification, it can have a detrimental effect on us. So once we come to a certain level, then we will be qualified to meditate on particular subject matters. And then as we come more, increase in our depth of devotion, then we'll become more qualified to meditate on more deep, until we come to that qualification where we're actually able to serve within those deepest pastimes of Radha and Krishna. So for so many different persons, there's so many different instructions. As you can see in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is telling different instructions for different classes of persons. As they say in English, different strokes for different folks. So for this person, he's telling this. For this one, he's telling that. Srila Gurudev said, what our Goswamis have given us, we can trust 100%. There's nothing that they have given us that is discardable. Everything they've given us is only to increase our thirst for Krishna Bhakti Ras, for loving service to Krishna. So this Ekadashi, as well as every Ekadashi, has that characteristic of nourishing our bhakti. But specifically, each one also has a particular gift. And this one has the gift of reducing our material illusion and our suffering and our difficulties in the material world, and increasing our transcendental connection to Krishna. They all have this potency, but this is particularly Mohini Ekadashi. So now we will call for the mercy of Patipavan Sri Nityananda Prabhu. Please forgive me, my phone has been going off and on, and I'm not sure if the connection is on or not. And so there's a little mirror over there which shows the other side of the phone which is filming, and I'm able to see if it looks like it's still moving. Yeah, it's going. And one thing that's really amazing is that in this picture from the video here, look at the moon behind Krishna. It is glowing. It's beautiful. So Nadiya Godrume, Nityananda Mahajan, page 163. I don't think I need to tag Isha Thakurani. Will anyone else tag her? Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaur Bhakata Vrinda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaur Bhakata Vrinda, Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Nadiya Godrume Nityananda Mahajan Pati আছে না মহত জীবের কারণ নদিয়া গোদ্রুমে নিত্যানন্দ মহাজন পাতি আছে না মহত জীবের কারণ নদিয়া গোদ্রুমে নিত্যানন্দ মহাজন পাতি আছে না মহত জীবের কারণ নদিয়া গোদ্রুমে নিত্যানন্দ মহাজন পাতি আছে না মহত জীবের কারণ শ্রদ্ধাবন জন হে শ্রদ্ধাবন জন হে শ্রদ্ধাবন জন হে শ্রদ্ধাবন জন হে পাতি আছে না মহত জীবের কারণ পাতি আছে না মহত জীবের কারণ নদিয়া গোদ্রুমে নিত্যানন্দ মহাজন পাতি আছে না মহত জীবের কারণ নদিয়া গোদ্রুমে নিত্যানন্দ মহাজন পাতি আছে না মহত জীবের কারণ প্রভুরয় জ্ঞায় ভাই মাগি এ ভিক্ষা প্রভুরয় জ্ঞায় ভাই মাগি এ ভিক্ষা बोलो कृष्ण भजो कृष्ण कोरो कृष्ण शिक्षा बोलो कृष्ण भजो कृष्ण कोरो कृष्ण शिक्षा नदिया गोद्रुमे नित्यानंद महाजन पाति আছে না মহত জীবের কারণ নদিয়া গোদ্রুমে নিত্যানন্দ মহাজন পাতি আছে না মহত জীবের কারণ অপরাধ শূন্য হয়ে লোহ কৃষ্ণ নাম অপরাধ শূন্য হয়ে লোহ কৃষ্ণ নাম কৃষ্ণ মাতা কৃষ্ণ পিতা কৃষ্ণ ধন প্রাণ কৃষ্ণ মাতা কৃষ্ণ পিতা কৃষ্ণ ধন প্রাণ নদিয়া গোদ্রুমে নিত্যানন্দ মহাজন পাতি আছে না মহত জীবের কারণ নদিয়া গোদ্রুমে নিত্যানন্দ মহাজন পাতি আছে না মহত জীবের কারণ কৃষ্ণের সংসার করো ছাড়ি অনাচার কৃষ্ণের সংসার করো ছাড়ি অনাচার जीवे दोया कृष्ण नाम सर्वधर्म सार जीवे दोया कृष्ण नाम सर्वधर्म सार नदिया गोद्रुमे नित्यानंद महाजन पाति আছে না মহত জীবের কারণ নদিয়া গোদ্রুমে নিত্যানন্দ মহাজন পাতি আছে না মহত জীবের কারণ নিতাই 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 হে নিতাই 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 হে নিতাই 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 হে নিতাই 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 হে নিতাই 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 হে নিতাই 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 হে নিতাই 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 গৌরাঙ্গ জয় নিতাই গৌরাঙ্গ জয় নিতাই গৌরাঙ্গ Gauranga Jayo Nitai Jayo Nityananda Ram Jayo Nityananda Ram Nityananda Ram Jai Nityananda Ram Jaya Nityananda Ram Nityananda Ram Nityananda Ram Jai Nityananda Ram Nitai He Nitai He Nitai He Nitai He Oh Nitai He Nitai He Nitai He Nitai He Patit Pavan Shri Nityananda Prabhu Ki Jai Prem Purushottam Sachinandana Gaur Hari Ki Jai. Does anyone know how to copy a bhajan from the Gaudiya Kirtan app? I think we need to recommend to them to make that possible, that a bhajan can be copied and then pasted from it. I've been wanting to call out this one prayer to Sachinandan Gaurahari, Pashya Shachi Sutam Anupama Rupam. Is it possible to post it here? It's page 338 in our Sri Gaudiya Gita Gucha. Please tell me how to do it, because I've tried, but I don't know how. And I thought I was smart with this stuff, but anyhow, Gurudev said, don't touch it, maybe you'll break it, so maybe I'm not as smart as I thought. Can you please post that bhajan with its translation? Pashya Shachi Sutam Anupama Rupam. Yes, 338 by Sri Radha Mohan Das. Looks like we have it. Okay, thank you. It's there, everyone, so you can follow along. Shri Sachinandana Gaur Hari Ki Jai. Pashya Shachi Sutam Anupam Marupam. Pashya Shachi Sutam Anupam Marupam. Pashya Shachi Anupam Marupam. Pashya Shachi Sutam Anupam Marupam. Kalitamrita Rasa Nirupama Kupam. Kalitamrita Rasa Nirupama Kupam. Pashya Shachi Sutam Anupam Marupam. Pashya Shachi Sutam Anupam Marupam. Krishna Krishna rago krito manaso tapam Krishna rago krito manaso tapam Lila prakatita Rudra pratapam Lila prakatita Rudra pratapam Pasya shachi sutam Anupam marupam Pasya shachi sutam Anupam marupam Prakalita purushotam Suvishadam Prakalita purushotam Suvishadam Kamalakaro Kamalanchitapadam Kamalakaro Kamalanchitapadam Pasya shachi sutam Anupam marupam Pasya shachi sutam Anupam marupam Rohita vadana Tirohita bhasham Rohita vadana Tirohita bhasham Radha mohana Krita charanasham Radha mohana Krita charanasham Pasya shachi sutam Anupam marupam Pasya shachi sutam Anupam marupam Kalitamrita rasa Nirupama kupam Kalitamrita rasa Nirupama kupam Pasya shachi sutam Anupam marupam 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 Jaya shachi nandan jaya gaura hari 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 Gaura he 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 Oh Gaura he 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 Shri Sachinandana Gaura Hari Ki Jai. Please bear with me for one moment. I just have to check something. This is how I know that everything is working properly, and somehow it appears to not be working properly. Oops. No, I still have data, and I still have daily data. So I don't know what's going on. I'm going to do what they tell you to do. If it fails, restart. Sri Mangala Gitam by Sri Jayadev Goswami, glorifying Sri Krishna, page 352. जय जय राधे कृष्ण गोविंद गोपाल नंद दुलालो जय यशोद दुलालो जयो जय देव हरे राधे कृष्ण गोविंद गोपालो नंद दुलालो जय यशोद दुलालो जयो जय देव हरे श्रित कमला कुछ मंदल धृत कुंदल श्रित कमला कुछ मंदल धृत कुंदल कलित ललित वनमाला कलित ललित वनमाला जय जय देव हरे कलित ललित वनमाला जय जय देव हरे 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 दीनन्मन्नि मण्डल मण्डन भवकन्दन दीनमन्नि मण्डल मण्डन भवकन्दन मुनिजन्ममानस हंस मुनिजन्ममानस हंस जय जय देव हरे मुनिजन्ममानस हंस जय जय देव हरे कालिय विषधर गंजन जनरंजन कालिय विषधर गंजन जनरंजन यदुकुलनालीन दिनेश यदुकुलनालीन दिनेश जय जय देव हरे यदुकुलनालीन दिनेश जय जय देव kavinasono garudasono surakula keli nidano surakula keli nidano jaya jaya deva hare surakula keli nidano jaya jaya deva hare amalla kamalla dallalochano bhavamochano amalla kamalla dallalochano bhavamochano tribhuvanna bhavana nidhano tribhuvanna bhavana nidhano jaya jaya deva hare tribhuvanna bhavana nidhano jaya jaya deva hare janakasuta krita bhushana jitadushana janakasuta krita bhushana jitadushana samarashamita dashakantha samarashamita dashakantha jaya jaya deva hare samarashamita dashakantha jaya jaya deva hare abhinava jaladhara sundara dhritamandara abhinava jaladhara sundara dhritamandara Shri Mukha Chandra Chakora Shri Mukha Chandra Chakora Radha Mukha Chandra Chakora Radha Mukha Chandra Chakora Jaya Jaya Deva Hare Radha Mukha Chandra Chakora Jaya Jaya Deva Hare 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 Tava Charane Pranatavayo Iti Bhavayo Tava Charane Pranatavayo Iti Bhavayo Kuru Kushalam Pranateshu Kuru Kushalam Pranateshu Jaya Jaya Deva Hare Kuru Kushalam Pranateshu Jaya Jaya Deva Hare Shri Jaya Deva Kave Idam Guru Te Mudam Shri Jaya Deva Kave Idam Guru Te Mudam Mangalamu Jwala Gitam Mangalamu Jwala Gitam Jaya Jaya Deva Hare Mangala Gitam Jaya Jaya Deva Hare 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 Oh Jaya Jaya Deva Hare Jaya Jaya Deva Hare Radhe Krishna Govinda Gopala Nanda Dulalo Jashoda Dulalo Jaya Jaya Deva Hare Radhe Krishna Govinda Gopala Nanda Dulalo Jashoda Dulalo Jaya Jaya Deva Hare Jaya Jaya Deva Hare Jaya Jaya Deva Hare Krishna He 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 Oh Krishna He Krishna He Krishna He Krishna He Shri Krishna Kanhaiya Lal ki jai. Okay, it looks like there's been a very exciting conversation going on here. Rudra Prabhu, maybe you can write some code to just do it all in one go, like it takes the picture and then automatically translates it, then puts it into text with diacritics and then makes it postable. Otherwise, they need to address that in the app. It's too much to have to do all of that. Sonam is requesting before Chaitanya Bhagavat something about my father. Okay. And now we will call out to Rishabhanu Nandini, Srimati Radha Thakurani. For her mercy. Hare Krishna. There they are. Radha Bhajane Jadi Mati Nahi Bhela by Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur, page 110. 110. Radha Bhajane Jadi Mati Nahi Bhela. वृषभानुनंदिनी श्रीमती राधा ठाकुरानी की जय। राधा भजने जदि मति नाही भेला, राधा भजने जदि मति नाही भेला, कृष्ण भजन तव अकारण कारण गेला। आत परोहित सूरज नाही जानी, आत परोहित सूरज नाही जानी, राधा विरोहित माधव नाही मानी, राधा विरोहितो माधव नाही मानी, केवल माधव पूजये सो अज्ञानी, केवल माधव पूजये सो अज्ञानी, राधया कोरोय अभिमानी, राधायो नादरो कोरोय अभिमानी, कबहि नाही कोरबि ताकोर संग, कबहि नाही कोरबि ताकोर संग, जदि ब्रजरस रंग, चित्ते छसि जदि ब्रजरस रंग, राधिका दासी जदि होई अभिमानो, राधिका दासी जदि होई अभिमानो, शीघ्रै मिलै तव गोकुल कानो, शीघ्रै मिलै तव गोकुल कानो, ब्रह्मा शिव नारद श्रुति नारायणी, ब्रह्मा शिव नारद श्रुति नारायणी, राधिका पदरज पूजये मानी, राधिका पदरज पूजये मानी, उमा रमा सत्या शची चंद्रा रुक्मिणी, उमा रमा सत्या शची चंद्रा रुक्मिणी, राधयवतारो सवे आम्नायो वाणी, राधायवतारो सवे आम्नायो वाणी, हेनो राधा परिचर्या जाकर धनो, हेनो राधा परिचर्या जाकर धनो, भक्ति विनोद Krishna bhajano tavo akarono gela. Krishna bhajano tavo akarono gela. Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Shri Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Shri Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Krishna, 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 Jaya Radhe, Jaya Krishna. Vrishabhanandri Srimati Radha Thakurani ki jai. Shri Krishna Kanhaiya Lal ki jai. And now we have come to that part of our evening, the culmination of all of our calling out to all of our Guru Varga, all of the Vaishnavas, Sri Nityananda Prabhu, Sri Sacinandan Gaura Hari, to Krishna and Srimati Radhika, the most powerful form of calling out to them, the sound of the jiva crying for mercy. What is that mercy? To be engaged in the loving service of Sri Sri Radha and Krishna. That is the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. With that prayerful mood, I'm going to quote those two verses from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, because I saw Krishna Kripa came on. He will be familiar, as we tell it, when we're on our tours traveling around the world, when we were. My dear Lord Krishna, although I have forgotten you for so many long years within this material world, today I am surrendering unto you. I am your most sincere and serious servant. Please engage me in your service. My dear Lord, from this day I am yours. And just remind me, my dear Lord, from this day I am yours, and we will speak about that just after the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Radhe Radhe Govinda, Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Gaura Hari Bol, 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 Jai Gurudev, 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 Jai Prabhupada, 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 Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Shri Shrinitai Gaura Premanande, Hari Hari Bol, Shri Gurudev ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Rupanuga Gauriya Guru Varga ki jai, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Nitai Gaura Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namaha Ajnanatimiraandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Vishnupadaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Shri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Narayanitti Namine Nama Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminitti Namine Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanang pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam karoti bachalam pangum langayate girin yat kripatamaham bande Shri Gurung Dinatarinam. First of all, I offer my Dandavat Pranam thousands of times in the dust of the lotus feet of our beloved Gurudev, Nitya Lila Pravishta Vishnupar, Ashto Tarashata Shri Srimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, and the same thousands of Dandavat Pranam in the dust of the lotus feet of Nitya Lila Pravishta Vishnupar, Ashto Tarashata Shri Srimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, and to all of our Rupanuga Gauriya Guru Varga, and to all Vaishnavas past, present and future, including all of you who are present with us today, we offer our Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam Jai Vaishnavas. Radhe 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 Shyam.
Radhe 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 Shyam. So, before entering into Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat, we are going to chant one verse. Two verses actually. The first verse of Sri Shikshashtakam and the first verse of Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat. So, everyone, please repeat after me. Cheto darpana marjanam
Cheto Darpana Marjanam
Bhava Mahadavagni
Bhava Mahadavagni
Nirvapanam
Nirvapanam
Shreya Kairava
Shreya Kaira
Chandrika
Chandrika
Vitaranam
Vitaranam
Vidyavadhu Jivanam
Vidyavadhu Jivanam
Anandam Buddhi
Anandam Buddhi
Vardhanam
Vardhanam
Pratipadam
Pratipadam
Purnamritashvadanam
Purnamritashvadanam
Sarvatmasnapanam
Sarvatmasnapanam
Param Vijayate
Param Vijayate
Shri Krishna
Sankirtanam
Shri Krishna Sankirtanam Shri Shikshashtakam ki jai. I just noticed they don't have any emergency candles lit for when the
because that preempts outages.
Right. But what will Sonam do if the light goes out? I have this one here.
I don't think that one works.
It works.
That's the working one.
Something. But the baby's going to be hidden. Okay. Just something. Okay. Take it. And the first verse of Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat. Ajanu
Ajanu
Lambita
Lambita
Bhujo
Bhujo
Kanakavadato
Kanakavadhato
Sankirtanaika
Sankirtanaika
Pitaro
Pitaro
Kamalaya Taksho
Kamalaya Taksho
Vishvambharo
Vishvambharo
Dvijavaro
Vijavaro
Yugadharma Palo
Yugadharma Palo
Vande Jagat
Vande Jagat
Priyakaro
Priyakaro
Karunavataro.
Karunavataro
Wait. Shri Sachinandan Gaura Hari ki jai. Petit Pavana Shri Nityananda Prabhu ki jai. I think it was this morning, very, very early, there was a bird outside, and I woke up to him going, tweet, 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 tweet.
making so much sense.
Really, I just heard tweet, 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 and it made me smile. Okay, so, thank you. Before entering into Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat, I wanted to say something about my father. Because today, although it didn't happen on the solar calendar on this day, we intentionally waited to, in essence, pull the plug until
In essence, literally.
until Mohini Ekadashi, which is this Ekadashi. And there was too many complications, and the doctors had said there's no way that he could make a comeback. And my father had decided way long ago, and had told it many times, that he didn't want to remain on artificial life support for any unnecessary amount of time. So we waited for an extra 20 or 30 something hours, and then when Mohini Ekadashi came, while they were playing Srila Prabhupada singing Hari Haraye, that was his favorite song. You know which one, Sonam? The one you posted before. Hari Haraye Namo Krishna Yadavayo Namo Yadavayo Madhavayo Keshavayo Namo. So he loved to listen to that, and he listened to it over and over again throughout my life. And so it so happened that because we had that extra added amount of time between the time when they had decided that they would pull life support and between the time that life support was pulled, which was on Ekadashi morning, that gave time for all the devotees from around the world to give blessings and prayers, offer prayers for him while that soul was still present within the body. And then when Ekadashi day came, so many people offered the results of their Ekadashi for his spiritual benefit. And many, many also chanted 64 rounds and offered that for his benefit. So it was quite a blessed departure. But I wanted to mention something about the prelude to that. The morning before his departure, he was running around, helping his mother, my grandmother, doing all kinds of things. It's not that his health was very good. He had a very bad back and whatever, but he was okay otherwise. Was not very comfortable, but he was fine. And that night, in a moment, gone. And we've heard it was probably an interaction from the pain medication. He went to emergency, and two of them interacted and it stopped his breathing. But needless to say, whether it happens that way or any other way, one moment everything can seem fine, and the next moment everything can be finished. And we always think we have so much time that we can waste. Later on, I'll do it. Later on, I will do my bhakti, but I'm busy now. I'm busy now maintaining and taking care of and increasing my wealth and my family and my friends and my sphere of influence, and arguing all kinds of points which are not necessary to argue, like whether the world is round or flat. How is that going to bring our minds to Krishna? If I die thinking of that, what will my condition be? That is not important. Important is the mercy of Guru, Gauranga, and Radha and Krishna. And so, when he departed, it was quite unexpected. And yet, for at least a couple of months before that, somehow he was inspired within his heart to start really trying to make an endeavor. My sister was at school. My stepmother, Radha Gokulananda, was working. And my father was at home alone. So he had time for doing some research on bhakti, for chanting more, for trying to go more deeply into the teachings of our Guru Varga. I just wanted to share what Jiva Pavana Prabhu had posted here. What will come? Trust no future. That's all. We must be always ready for destruction. Material world is like that. Nitya, anityatam. Eternally temporary. Chanakya Pandit says, avoid bad men's company. Always try to associate with learned. Sadhu, with devotees. Avoid the association of worldly persons and try to associate with devotees, and always think that everything here in this material world is for a few days. That's all. Srila Prabhupada, Morning Walk, Honolulu, June 1975. So, our entire training, the process of Krishna consciousness, Srila Prabhupada had said it and written it again and again. Our entire training is so at the time of our departure, we will be able to think of and concentrate our hearts and minds on Krishna. And what is that training? Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Always serving Srimad Bhagavatam. That means Harikatha. And who is giving Harikatha? The person Bhagavat. Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Kalam Nayad. Without cessation, always. Tannama Rupa Charitari Sukirtananu. Always glorifying and doing deep, absorbed kirtan of Krishna's names, forms, qualities, and pastimes. What kind of absorbed kirtan? Srila Bhakti Kamal Govinda Maharaj said, like fish. He said, when you're chanting, you should be like a fish, but don't be on the surface, or any fisherman can catch you, like Maya. If you're flirting with the surface, any fisherman can catch you. But if you go very, very deep, there will be no disturbance. No fisherman, no anything, no disturbance, just Harinam. So this is Sukirtan, deep absorption in Krishna's names, forms, qualities, and pastimes under the guidance of that person whose heart is overflowing with love and affection for Krishna. Tad anuragi jananugami. Kalam Nayad, without cessation. If we are always absorbing our minds in subject matters of Krishna consciousness, then we can hope for, at the time of our departure from this world, even if it comes in an instant, that we might be able to somehow or other remember Krishna. And it's not like the last moment Krishna. It means, what is our absorption? Srila Gaura Govinda Maharaj once was asked what happened to this one devotee who left while on Harinam. And he said, death is a doorway. How he was in his life, he will continue there. If you go out on Harinam and then you go right back to all of your material nonsense, what is your state of consciousness? What is your state of being? That's what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. Yam yam vapi smaram bhavam. Bhavam means the moods, the state of consciousness, one state of being. It's not that I can be in nonsense my whole life and then at the last moment say Krishna and then think that, well, that's going to bring me to perfection. We have seen examples of this in Shastra with Ajamil. Ajamil, he was calling out Narayan. But it wasn't that he just called out Narayan. First he was calling for his son, Narayan, Narayan. But in that moment he remembered all of his previous samskars, his previous impressions, before he became a nonsense. He had done so much sadhana and seva and accumulated so much bhakti sukriti. So as he was calling for his son Narayan, at that moment he remembered Sriman Narayan and all of his previous impressions. And at that moment the Vishnu Dutas appeared, the messengers of Sriman Narayan. Our Guru Varga have explained this point. It's not that we can just be whatever, relaxed, chilled out, and then think that I can call the pure name of Krishna at the time of my departure and everything's going to be cool. There is a process of practice. That is our sadhana. And that practice will help to engage our mind constantly so that at all times we will be able to remember Krishna. And then if that time, or when, sorry, not if, it definitely will come when that time comes. If it happens quick, now, 10 years in the future, 10 minutes from now, 100 years in the future, we don't know. But hopefully we will be able to be remembering the sweet pastimes of Krishna and the names of Krishna and also his pure devotees. So I just wanted to share that seeing that kind of situation where he's running around doing this, and then of course he was going through so many difficulties with his health, but it wasn't about that. It was whatever it was that brought about that the combination of chemicals or whatever it was that stopped him from beating and stopped him from breathing. The point is, still his time came. And so for me that was a lesson. And interestingly enough, the nature of the conditioned soul in this world is so mad, so foolish, that we see it happening all around us. We see it even happening to people close to us. And we see how they may have lived their lives, maybe what they've done right and done wrong, and then we tell ourselves, yeah, I'm not going to do that. And we do it anyway. We space out, we waste time, we play Russian roulette with our spiritual lives. In other words, we take too many chances to absorb our minds in all kinds of material things where there's a great opportunity where we won't be absorbed in Krishna when our time comes. And so for me, this day is it's always an awakening lesson for me that it's so fragile. Kamal dal jala jivana talmala. This human form of life is the most amazing opportunity, because only from the human form can one endeavor for perfection, and yet it's as fragile as a drop of water on the very waxy and sloped petal of a lotus flower. It doesn't take much to make that little bead of water fall off. Somehow, by dew, it is there. But one small breeze and it is finished in a moment. So the lesson is, we should be aware of this. Our Guru Varga are telling us. Today Sudevi was playing Srila Gurudev speaking, and he started his class telling this. It's going to come one day or another. Disease, old age, and death. maybe today, maybe tomorrow, maybe in 10 years, one day we will have to marry old age by force, he would say. You will have to marry it by force. And there's no telling when all of these things will happen. One should utilize their full energy, he was saying, in remembering Krishna's names, forms, qualities, and pastimes. So now I was requested to say a little bit about him. First, I want to tell about his effect in our lives. My father, his name was Mithiladhisa Prabhu, disciple of Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. He was so happy and always encouraging us on the path of bhakti. And he would become a little bit upset even if he would see us weak or relaxed in it. He was always encouraging us. And when our Srila Gurudev gave us the order to travel and preach, he was so happy. And he would always encourage us. He was like, for our seva and our preaching, a rock of support. He would always encourage us to be strong in our convictions, to not get carried away by all of the different opinions of so many people, and just to simply hold on to the instructions of our Gurudev and our Guru Varga as it is. He was very clear about that. Even if he had weakness, means in his own spiritual life, still he never deviated from the Siddhanta, from the teachings. He never twisted it to suit some material or mundane agenda. He tried to always keep that pure, and his mood toward his Gurudev, Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, and his Shiksha Guru. He had, our Srila Gurudev was one of his Shiksha Gurus, and before our Srila Gurudev, and also the whole time, was Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj. I don't think he ever met him, but he was definitely inspired by him. So he was always like a child in front of them. His mood was like that, like an ignorant child. I don't know if you saw today, I posted a picture. Actually, he had never seen that picture before. It wasn't part of his collection. He never showed it to me. Only recently, within the last few weeks, it was found. And you can see the way he's looking at Prabhupada in that picture. That's the way he always was with Prabhupada and with our Gurudev. Just like a little child looking up at their amazing, amazing dad. Like that kind of mood he had. And he always tried to encourage us with that mood. If we had any difficulty, we would be able to question him. And our Gurudev said about him, he's expert in all Siddhanta. He knows all Siddhanta. So he was very good with Shastra. Even the shlokas which he had memorized and learned when he was just a teenager. That's when he joined. When he was 17 years old, he joined the Krishna consciousness movement. He joined Srila Prabhupada when he was 17. That was in 1970 or 71, maybe. I think so. So he joined at that time. But all of those verses he had learned, he still retained within him. He was a very expert at preaching. And he didn't like when people would try to push all kinds of mundane things in the name of bhakti. So he ended up actually kind of isolating himself quite a lot from a lot of people because, well, he witnessed too many nonsense activities in the name of bhakti. So many nonsense activities going on in the name of being guru and everything else, and preachers and sannyasis, and he just didn't want to subscribe to it because he didn't want to cheat himself and did not want to also cheat others by promoting anything which was less than the best, less than pure, because he had had experience of his Gurudev, Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, and his Shiksha Guru, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. So he joined when he was quite young. He became attracted by seeing, believe it or not, shikas. Before he ever had seen the devotees, he had an obsession with drawing figures, like martial artists or something, but with shikas. And when he saw the devotees with the shikas, it was quite attractive to him. You never know what's going to attract someone. Raghav Pandit, the husband of Bhanumati, who used to live in Holland, who now lives in Connecticut, the disciple of Srila Gaura Govinda Maharaj, he was attracted by Tilak. he saw a group of devotees walking down the street doing kirtan, and he was like, my God, they're wearing gold on their foreheads. Gold. He saw gold. And he followed them to the temple. And then it was it. He was sold out. So my father was obsessed with the shikas. He was drawing pictures of them. He was a good artist. And then he wanted to know more. He became so excited, enthusiastic. And the devotees who he met, they told him, just like every other young person at the time, he was quite experienced in the realms of taking different kinds of intoxication. Imagine, late 60s. So whatever was good at that time, you all know what it is. Fortunately for myself, I've never received the opportunity to take any of those, and I don't want to. But he was well experienced in all of that. He had that long hair down to his lower back. And when he met the devotees, they told him, of course, this was the line back then, chant Hare Krishna and stay high forever. And that, stay high forever? Like everyone wanted to find the high. Everyone was trying to search for something more than what the material world was offering. They had lost faith in materialism and they were searching for something a little bit deeper, a little bit higher. So he got a japamala and quit all the marijuana, all the LSD, all whatever else he was taking. I don't even know the history of all of it. But anyhow, he quit it all. And he was chanting in the daytime at school when he was in high school. And the other kids in high school were like, dude, what are you on? What are you taking? And he was just like this. And he showed his japa beads and he was like this. Because they were jealous of His Highness. His Highness. They were jealous. So they became attracted also by seeing his happiness, his excitement, his feeling of peace and highness from chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And then he dedicated his life in service. He surrendered to Srila Prabhupada and Srila Prabhupada's movement. So he was out there every day as a young man. In the summer, in the winter, he was from Philadelphia. So if anyone knows what the winter is like there, it gets very cold, summer gets very hot, it also gets quite humid at times. And he was there every day for up to 8 hours a day, jumping up and down, playing the mridanga on the street in Harinam. Harinam Sankirtan. And he was also the treasurer of the temple and one of the head cooks. And even at his own wedding, he was doing the yajna and getting married at the same time. So he was quite a responsible person, quite sharp, quite intelligent, and was utilizing his energy in serving Srila Prabhupada. And he always had that enthusiasm and always trying to serve. Even when he later on had businesses and everything that were making a lot of money, he was giving more than half of it to the temple. Always giving and giving and giving, always trying to follow that principle. And, well, when he needed help, when there was some difficulty, no one helped him back. But anyhow, you can say in one sense he bankrupted himself materially by serving spiritually. But he had to take it in stride. That was what it was meant to be. So, always serving, always speaking about Krishna. Sometimes to the point of being annoying. Because he would get so excited if there was someone there that he could discuss topics of Krishna with, that he felt a camaraderie with. 13 hours straight like that. To the point where sometimes it'd be like, okay, we just need to take a nap, we need to take a break. But he would get so excited to reminisce about Srila Prabhupada, about the good old days, of course, about the teachings and the lessons he had learned, about Guru, Vaisnava, and Krishna. This was his nature, and he would speak for hours and hours on these subject matters when he had the chance, when he received the chance. Yeah, I just told that Yeah, even at a certain point, Sudevi started crying. It was too much. She was like, no, I can't do anymore. But, sometimes we would only be in his vicinity for 3 or 4 days out of a year. And so he felt like he could have that conversation with us. And, it was very exciting for him. And he used to thank me when I would call him on the phone. Once every couple of weeks or once a month, I would call him and we would have a 1 or 2 hour conversation. He would just be like, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I need this. I need to be able to speak like this, about Krishna. So he was always so appreciative. Tell about what? So he was at one point a very wealthy man. I remember back in when we were living on Watsika Avenue, when his business was doing well, he had purchased a second-hand car. But the car was a little bit, nice looking. It was just an old Chevrolet, but it was a nice, at the time, square car. And some devotees started criticizing, oh, look, you have a nice car. So immediately he got rid of it and invested in old used VW Bugs. So he had a couple of those, one for the business, one for home. And that's what we had. We had a VW Bug, an old one with a really bad paint job so people wouldn't criticize. And that was also his nature. He didn't like people to criticize, and he was trying to give everything in the service of the temple. He was printing Prabhupada's books. He was a printer. Before that, he was running the candle factory. So he was printing Prabhupada's books, printing so many different, also mundane things, but he was printing and giving so much for the distribution. What he willed to us, 3 children in his will. Myself, I'm the eldest. My brother, he's a 1.5 years younger than me. His name is Prahlad. His birth name was Nitai Chaitanya. And our sister, Radhika Charana. So he had 3 artifacts that he felt were of value in his life. Of course, also his wife, Radha Gokulananda. So for her, of course, he left all of the belongings, the house, Thakurji, everything else. But for me, he left a big pair of kartals that Srila Prabhupada played once. For my brother, he left the hammer that Srila Prabhupada used once for playing the gong. And for my sister, he left the chadar that Srila Prabhupada sat on once. That's what he considered valuable. And that's what he left to us. Huh?
Those were his treasures.
Yeah, those were his treasures. That's what he left to us in the will. He said all the rest is just material. So it was kind of delightful that it was so simple. Just that he left for us, not any kind of mundane thing. If he left anything else for us, it probably would have been debt. So luckily he didn't give that to us. But kartals that Prabhupada played, a gong hammer that Prabhupada used, and a chadar that Prabhupada sat on. These 3 things he felt were valuable in his life, and he left those to his 3 children. It was very sweet and kind and thoughtful of him. He just said everything else is just mundane, it's material, it's not important. And also in his will was a request for us that we should not waste our lives just endeavoring for the pursuit of material happiness. But what he would really desire for us would be that we would engage our energy and our time searching after sadhu sangha and endeavoring for perfection. That was also there in his will. So this was always his mood of encouragement. He always wanted... What? His wedding gift to us. He had saved it for a long time for when his children get married. And what did he have? A set of Srila Prabhupada's original Srimad Bhagavatams. That was his wedding gift to us. And Sudevi's like, I'm marrying your son for those books. That was it. That was his wedding gift to us. For
I was very smart.
he told her she was very smart. So he was always trying in that way. It's not that he was perfect, the perfect specimen of a devotee or anything. He had his ups and downs, but his heart was always in that right place. And if he ever had the opportunity, despite his ill health, he was always endeavoring to associate with sadhus. Some big lessons I don't remember so much of the things he told me about Srila Prabhupada, except that one, where Srila Prabhupada told the devotees in Dallas, he said the proof or the culmination of all of their education about all of the students is that when they see a sadhu, they will fall flat like a stick before him. And for some reason, this really stood out as the essence of all of the teachings of Srila Prabhupada. And honestly, it is the essence of all of the teachings of Shastra. That one point right there, to take shelter of, to submit to hear from, and serve the pure devotees of the Lord. Even that is the advice of the Lord himself and all of his greatest devotees. So that instruction stood out as the most essential instruction. And of course, he also had some big lessons. Back in the day, somehow, due to great misfortune, many devotees were going to Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj for guidance. And his guidance was quite simple, quite nice, quite gentle, and very all-accommodating. So he was able to reconcile so much, and he gave so many nice instructions, especially for those who came to him and said, now that we are acharyas, how should we be? How should we behave? And he started kind of laughing, and he said, in my opinion, you're all first-level students, but anyhow. So then he started giving some instruction, that you shouldn't place your own Vyas asan in the temple of your Gurudev, otherwise it will create conflict with your own god brothers, things like that. How to keep the peace and how to increase the preaching. So he was giving such nice instructions, but when some difficulties started going on, they needed to blame someone, so they all pointed the finger, and then got others to point the finger, and it became wholesale institutional pointing the finger in that direction, unfortunately. And that mood trickled through the entire society. I felt it. I know I did, because when my father changed his mood, I became quite concerned, and I was seeking advice from other senior Vaishnavas. What am I supposed to do? My father is kind of like going off that way a little bit. That's how I was maybe at the time, 18, 17, I was a little concerned and confused. So he was also like that. Someone handed him a book. He didn't even bother to open it. He looked at the front cover. It said Sri Guru and His Grace, and he saw the name, and he took the book and ripped it in half and threw it in the trash because of the name on it. Because the mood that was being instilled at that time was so heavily against him. My father told me that many years later, he was thinking, and he only revealed this to me the year before he departed this world. He told me that many years later, he was thinking, what happened to me? I used to be so inspired. I used to be so fired up. I used to be serving and preaching and chanting and doing Kirtan, and I had so much enthusiasm for bhakti. But now I feel dead. Dead inside. What happened? And he told me just the year before he departed that it became so desperate and desolate that he felt that if he cannot find the answer to this, if somehow he cannot find it, then he had resolved to give up his life. And that's not the kind of person my father is, but he had resolved to give up his life. Because what was the use of living? What do they call it? A walking dead body. Srimad Bhagavatam, I believe, says this, walking dead bodies. Or two-legged animals. Srila Prabhupada said walking dead bodies. What was the use? And so with that kind of mood, basically, if I don't receive the mercy to find out this answer and correct whatever it is that I have done, then Karuna na hoile, kandiya, prana na rakhibo ar. Without that mercy, then I have no reason to maintain this life. So he had resolved to give up his life. And he had been searching, trying to figure out, what have I done? Maybe I did this, maybe I did that, maybe I've done something to have this result. This deadness in my heart. And he was in North Carolina at the time. And one devotee came to him when it was like the day before he was about to just finish it all. This devotee came to him and said, you know, I have this amazing book by Sridhar Maharaj. Would you like to read it? It's called Sri Guru and His Grace. My father said at that time he remembered when that book came to him previously, he had ripped it up and threw it in the garbage. And then at that moment he was thinking, what kind of person does such a thing? Doesn't even give someone the benefit of the doubt. Doesn't bother to even open it, read a little bit, just rips something and throws it away. And he thought, maybe that's where my problem is coming from. He opened that book and he read it from cover to cover and wept for days and days and days. What have I done? What have I done? He realized he had made severe aparad to this Vaisnava. And he was weeping, crying. And he resolved from that moment that whoever he would meet, if he had any book, he would give them a copy of that book. Otherwise, he would tell them about the glories of Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj and recommend that book to them. That was his resolution, because a question had been asked that what should someone do if they make aparad to someone and then that person departs this world? Well, how can you apologize? And the answer by the acharyas was, you must repent. If you have that mood in your heart, sincere repentance. Repentance means always feeling myself lowly and never behaving like that again. Always weeping and praying for forgiveness. And the proof or the result of that kind of mood and that kind of sharing was that mercy again came to him. Krishna again came to him in the form of Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj and again gave him Harikatha. In this context, I would like to share a little something just quickly, because it's related to this actually. I don't want to spill too many of the beans. When Haridas Thakur had been beaten in 22 marketplaces, and those two persons, the servants of the Nawab who were beating him, they were like, if you don't die, we're going to be killed. We know that you're saintly, otherwise you would have died in the second marketplace. By then, no one else would have survived. We understand this, but if you don't die, we're going to be killed. So please help us out here. And Haridas Thakur said, I don't want to cause any problems to anyone. Just see how I die. Hare Krishna. Fell over. They threw his body in the Ganga. They were feeling okay, everything is good. And he also forgave them. He's like, yes, I forgive you. No problem. And they threw him in the Ganga. Of course, he healed very quickly, went a little bit downstream, came back out, fully healed, and continued chanting, taking shelter of Harinam Prabhu. Sri Vrindavan Das Thakur of Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat fame, what did he writes? He writes that still, even though Haridas Thakur said, yeah, no problem, I don't accept any offense. Still, Krishna accepted offense. These two still had to go to hell. Because Krishna accepted the offense. So the question then came, well then how does one get rid of that offense? And the answer is that. Who gave the answer, Sudevi? When Krishna again comes, I think it was Srila Gaur Govinda Maharaj, he told. Srila Gaur Govinda Maharaj, he told. That, and Harikatamrita, Srila Gaur Govinda Maharaj said, these two, they had to go to hell. So how is it that someone can actually be forgiven from this Vaishnava aparad? Krishna will leave that place. So how does someone know that they've been forgiven? When Krishna again is given to that person by any pure devotee in the form of Harikatha, because that pure devotee is giving Krishna. Krishna prapti hoy jaha hoite. Krishna cannot, he's not independent of them. So that's why I made the point that when Srila Gurudev came into his life and again was giving him Krishna in the form of Harikatha, then you could tell that this was the reciprocation for his repentance, that mood of repentance, where he was feeling inspired in the association of Vaishnavas and receiving Harikatha. So we witnessed so many amazing experiences in his life. How he chose to remain distant from so many just because of the mundanity. He didn't want to be involved in that. And he definitely didn't want to involve other devotees in his own mundanity. If he was doing something which wasn't bhakti related, why would he include other devotees in that? And so seeing these certain kinds of activities in his life, like devotees were like, hey, come on, let's go party, let's go do this nonsense together, this mundane activity, that mundane thing. We can do that with people who are nonsense persons, but we shouldn't try to drag other devotees into our nonsense. When we come together as devotees, we should try to encourage one another, inspire one another to remember Krishna. So this was also a very powerful lesson that I learned from him through this experience, witnessing also over time. So many other experiences as well, but I would like to say, although he wasn't perfect, and neither am I, and I don't know many people who are encaged within a material body who are, the deepest part of him, from my perspective, what I had seen, the deepest part of him was that he always longed for the association of pure devotees, always desired to serve, always tried to remember Krishna and his Gurudevs, and definitely always encouraged us. He was like, you are so fortunate, Srila Gurudev put you in this situation, continue on, be strong. He would always encourage us and inspire us to be very fixed in our service to our Gurudev, and that we should be careful not to fall for any cheap tricks of so many who are trying to manifest some other thing in the name of bhakti. That just follow Gurudev, follow our Guru Varga simply as it is. Just be simple and follow, but don't fall into all of these other weird things that are going on. Just be simple. So he was quite a strong rock for us in that way, supporting us, encouraging us, giving us shastric evidence, and he was good at finding, researching, and arguing certain points. He also, I found out, discovered after his departure that he had a large community of devotees who he was communicating with regularly and sharing subject matters of Krishna consciousness. So he couldn't do much due to his body, but he was spending a lot more time in preaching and sharing and trying to encourage people to associate with pure Vaishnavas and trying to present the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, which he was quite expert at. So, on this note, I would like to... Oh, Saci. Saci, you remember him? Mithiladhisa Prabhu? He also published one of Gurudev's very first books. What was that? Shri Ashuka. Before Gurudev came to America, he had read this lecture from our Srila Gurudev, and he had also felt inspired about our Srila Gurudev. So he published this book, Shri Ashuka, early on, showing that Shukadev Goswami is the parrot of Srimati Radhika. And I remember him presenting that to us. And actually it was due to his encouragement. He told me when I went to India that basically he gave a little extra donation to help me get my ticket. And he said, on the condition that you go and see Srila Bhakti Pramod Puri Maharaj and offer your pranam and hear from him, and Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, offer your pranam to him and hear from him. That was his condition for giving me any donation to go to India. And so I said, yeah, sure, I can do that. I only needed $200. He gave me $300 to seal the deal. So this is another telling that this was his intention for me, that I should somehow or other avail myself of the opportunity of associating with pure Vaishnavas. He wasn't encouraging me toward any mundane thing, always trying to push me in that direction. So how can I repay that debt? And it so happened that I forgot my vow to him, but anyhow, Krishna arranged for it to be fulfilled anyway. And then when that boy offered that I can take us to see Srila Puri Maharaj and Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Maharaj, I remembered my promise to my father, and I said, yeah, okay, we'll go. And so he was always encouraging us on the path of devotion. Blackmail, bribery for sadhu sangha. Mithiladhisa Prabhu. In that note also, there's something very funny. When he received his name, they forgot to cross the T. And so when the name from Srila Prabhupada came in the letter, your name is Mithiladhisa. And so for the first 2 years, so many people called him Mithiladhisa. In fact, the name Mithiladhisa was engraved on his kartals, the ones that I got. And he was thinking, where is that name from? He searched all the Shastra, didn't find it anywhere. And finally he got up the nerve. Back in the day, people didn't have so much nerve, but he got up the nerve to write a letter back to Srila Prabhupada, like, I can't find. He asked so many and no one knew. And finally the letter went to Prabhupada. You know, where in Shastra is this name, Mithiladhisa? What does it mean? And Prabhupada just crossed the L and said Mithiladhisa. Mithiladhisa means the king of Mithila. That is Janak Maharaj, the father of Sita. So his name was Mithiladhisa Das. I thought that was quite a funny interaction. But yeah, many devotees. I remember Puru Prabhu, even up until the day he departed from this world. He's like, hey, how's your father, Mithiladhisa Prabhu? He would say it like that. So they just had called him that. Another thing is, you know, when you receive your japa mala, when you go one time around, from Krishna bead all the way back around to the Krishna bead, that's what they call it, that's considered one round. Well, somehow he misunderstood, and they had told him, somehow he misunderstood, and he thought one round meant there and back again. So for the first year or so, instead of chanting 16 of this, he was chanting 16 of that. In other words, he was chanting 32 rounds a day at the time. And one other thing, I remember the day that Srila Prabhupada departed from this world. That's my second memory. My first memory, my earliest memory, is the day that I received a cookie from Prabhupada's hand. I was about 3 years old at that time. And Prabhupada would go to Los Angeles quite often. It was his headquarters, especially for his book publication and Spiritual Sky. And so it was his world headquarters. So he was there in 1973, maybe even early 1974. So I was about 3 years old at that time. The next memory I have is the day of Prabhupada's departure. And it was quite intense seeing all of those who are supposed to be strong and adults literally not being able to handle life. Their heart was just removed from their bodies. They lost their life force, their life air. The wind was knocked out of their sails, hearing that Srila Prabhupada left. But Srila Prabhupada had always taught everyone that no matter whether I'm here or there or traveling or in India, but you must do your service and be fixed. So many devotees, I saw devotees turning pale and fainting. And I saw my mother and father, and they were cooking in the kitchen, but then they had to take breaks. And there were festoons around, but it was not a festive day. Something felt very heavy. And I tried to ask them what was going on. At that time, I was like 3.5. What happened? What happened? Because they were just sitting there. They were weeping and crying. My mother couldn't say anything, my father couldn't say anything. And you could see the love, you could see the affection, the dedication in those devotees. At that time, of course, my mother and father were the most prominent devotees in my life, but their dedication and their mood of service to Srila Prabhupada, through thick and thin, even though they were weeping and crying and unable to function properly, still they were endeavoring to do their service. And that was also quite powerful to see that, to witness that, where many might just go and hide in some cave, but they understood this always utilizing one's energy in the service of Gurudev, and by that one will be able to receive the mercy of Sri Guru. And they understood that principle quite well. So my parents were always serving, always serving. Have we, oh my gosh, I didn't realize that was going to happen. So, the last thing he wrote to me, he said he was just hoping that everything is well for myself and for Sudevi, and just basically that we should always progress nicely on the path of bhakti. And then he said, and it was strange, when someone's about to leave this world, it's almost like they know it but they don't realize it, but others can see it. They start kind of making the rounds, connecting with everyone, even before there's any telltale sign of anything. And then he wrote, and please give my regards to everyone I know and those I don't know yet. And that was, I remember when we got that letter, I read it to Sudevi and we're like, that's strange. That's not something he would normally write. That sounds a little, and we could sense something. But the way he wrote that, please give my regards to everyone I know and those I don't know yet. So one thing is, whenever he had the opportunity for sadhu sangha, despite his painful condition, which actually came as a result of intense working and especially intense seva, jumping up and down for 8 hours a day with a mridanga, doesn't do too well for your back after many years. But anyhow, all of these persons, all of these young, very energetic, healthy, youthful servants of Srila Prabhupada gave their youth and their energy in serving him. And later on, they might not have been able to do that kind of thing. But anyhow, that time, Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj said, that moment that one decides to surrender everything to the service of Guru and Krishna, he said Krishna will never forget that. And so we've seen this with so many. They gave their life, their youth, their energy fully. And even when we look, we have seen it. We were the products of it. They were serving and we were in the ashrams at the age of 4 and 5 years old. For what purpose? My father's mood, the reason he decided to have a child, he told us. He saw a picture of Paramananda Prabhu offering his son at the feet of Srila Prabhupada, newborn. And he thought, if there's any reason to have a child, that's the reason right there. And so they chanted their 50 rounds or something, 64, I think it was called 50 rounder, and conceived a child. And that was his intention, to offer this child in the service of Prabhupada. Give this jiva an opportunity for service, for Krishna Bhakti. So although they had us as their children, my parents weren't the kind of parents who were so attached. It wasn't attached as, oh, you're my child. It's more like you're my younger godbrother and let me assist you to the best of my ability to become Krishna conscious. That is how they raised me, at least. And it was quite, I'm very happy for that. I'm very happy for that. That was their mood and intention. Not everything, all intentions are go in the right direction, but in this case, at least by that mood, I was brought to the lotus feet of my Gurudev, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And by that mood, I have developed immense appreciation, thousands of times more than I had before, for Srila Prabhupada. for Srila Gaur Govinda Maharaj, for Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj, for Srila Bhakti Pramod Puri Maharaj, for Srila Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Maharaj, for so many stalwart Vaishnavas. And so I feel that it was great fortune, great mercy for me to be born and raised in that situation where the focus was, despite whatever negativities happened around, the focus was that somehow or other I should become a devotee of Krishna and associate with the pure devotees of the Lord. And for that I cannot repay my debt to my father or my mother. And for that, well, also I had many fathers and mothers growing up in the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. So many were my parents. But specifically, these two personalities, Mithiladish and Rasamanjari, they were always encouraging me on the path of bhakti. And so, how can one repay that kind of debt? The only way I can see is to engage my life in endeavoring to attain that perfection that they hoped I would attain. And you can't say that I'm living my life for them, but their purpose is the same as the purpose of our Guru Varga, is the same as the purpose of Mahaprabhu, is the same as the purpose of their preaching. So if that is their purpose and that is their purpose, and really the purpose of the human form of life is to endeavor for perfection, then the best thing that I can do is to engage my energy in Kirtan, in Harikatha, in Vaishnava association, however or whenever possible, and to try to continue to follow the straight and narrow path toward perfection. So, on this day, the day of Mohini Ekadashi, 3 years ago, while we were singing that tune of Hare Krishna that we did before, they told us, we were on the phone, they told us that they were going to disconnect life support, and we were chanting that Vipralamba Hare Krishna, and within 9 minutes, they said, oh, he's leaving quickly. They had already put tulsi in his mouth. He had everything was auspicious, tilak on his body. And they were playing Srila Prabhupada chanting that Hari Haraye. And really that bhajan, we're singing it for Rup Goswami at least once a week. And this is for the 6 Goswamis. So that is our goal, our aspiration, and especially in the mood of separation. And if you hear that bhajan, can you post a link to it? That Hari Haraye by Srila Prabhupada, that very sad one. That was his favorite one of all time. And he used to constantly listen to it. So while he was listening to that, in the middle somewhere, about 9 minutes in, 7 minutes in, there, probably somewhere around Tadera Charana Sevi Bhakta Sanevas, Janami Janame Hoy, E Abhilash, E Chaya Gosai, Jabe Braje Koilavash, Radha-Krishna Nitya Lila Korila Prakash. He left. And they told us he left. And I did not feel dread. I felt for him relief, happiness, and all the prayers of the Vaishnavas were so overwhelming. All of the blessings from the Vaishnavas around the world, even people who didn't know him, they were chanting, they were doing kirtans. Uddhav Prabhu, we were staying with Uddhav Prabhu, the disciple of Bhaktivedanta Tirtha Maharaj, in Dijon, France at the time. We were doing programs there. And he was at his restaurant. He runs a restaurant there called Lushanti. And he was there with his workers doing kirtan at that time. Devotees all over the world, in Vrindavan and different pockets everywhere, were doing kirtan for his benefit. And at that time, he departed on that Mohini Ekadashi. And all I saw in my mind's eye was his Gurudev, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, our Gurudev, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayana Swami Maharaj, and our Guru Varga, kind of looking at him saying, come on. And he just looks back at me and says basically, good one, good job. For waiting till Ekadashi and then danced off as he would. He would start doing this little dance thing whenever he would be in the vicinity of these kinds of Vaishnavas. He would be dancing inside his heart and then kind of trying to dance outside as well. And just like that. And so I felt it was, very blessed. So thank you for asking me to speak something on him. I wanted to speak more on Chaitanya Bhagavat, but the time has come. But at least we did mention this section of Haridas Thakur. So we spoke something about Chaitanya Bhagavat, and we're speaking something about the life of a devotee and his endeavor. And he was a no-nonsense kind of person. My father was a very, very no-nonsense kind of person. He didn't like it, and we don't like it either. If someone who's a devotee leaves this world and suddenly everyone says, they went back to Godhead. No, that's not the quality for going back to Godhead. And he was like, shh. That's for our Guru Varga. They have, by their dedication, attained that state. Samadhi and Nikunja Yuno Ratikeli Siddhya. They're serving. So you say Nitya Lila Pravishta. For that person who is completely 100% in love with praying for Krishna. So he didn't like it if someone would falsely attribute some kind of lofty glory just because someone departs this world. So I didn't make that mistake of overlapping the rasas, but my prayer and my hope and seeing the blessings of the Vaishnavas was that the culmination of all of those blessings and all of the good things that he had done on the path of devotion, the sukritis which he had accumulated, and the association that he had had with Vaishnavas, was somehow able to rapidly slingshot him forward on the path of devotion. And I feel very confident that he is making rapid progress toward perfection in a very, very happy and inspirational way. So on this note, we will end here. It's a happy note, a sweet note. And so may he be victorious wherever he is, however he is, whatever form he is, whatever shape he is. I hope he's happy in the association of Vaishnavas. Even after the attainment of perfection, still the association of the pure devotees of the Lord is the most essential thing. Also from here, sadhu sangha, all the way into perfection and within perfection. So that is the way to be happy. Be happy now, happy into the future, happy into perfection forever. Always in the association of the devotees of the Lord. So may he be victorious on that journey. Shri Mithiladhisa Prabhu ki jai. It so happened that very night of his departure, we had a big program that was already pre-planned. And we spoke about Bhajahuremana. We actually did the program. We did Kirtan. I was thinking, would he want me to be weeping somewhere? Would he want me to go back to America and be there for him to leave this world? And I was thinking, no way. He would want to be where we are doing what we're doing Kirtan and doing Katha. So I figured the best thing to do, which would make him the happiest, even on the day of his departure, which was Ekadashi, would be to do our seva, to do Kirtan. The room was packed with like 40, 50 people. And somehow it felt, and I know Sudevi felt it as well, it was like a surge of energy. We felt that at that moment it was like, very powerful boost of Shakti for our seva and preaching. That whatever, like that last wind was like, take it and run with it. And so we felt that strong, that potency at that moment. And yes, still continuing, making our endeavor to to hold tight to the lotus feet of our Gurudev and endeavoring to serve to the best of our ability. So many mistakes may be there, but if there's a little bit of sincerity, hopefully Sri Guru will look at us with any sidelong glance and give his mercy. So Srila Gurudev ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Rupanuga Guru Varga ki jai, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. I just want to tell you one other thing, really sweet. So right after my father departed, we were at the house of Uddhav Prabhu, and he has, of course, his wife was there, and her mother, and their 2 children. So the young one, the little girl, she must have been 6 years old or something. She could see that we were all in a very sad mood. There was 4 of us there at the time, myself, Sudevi, Krishna Kripa. Was it Subi?
Yeah.
Yes. And we were all really sad. And she could see it and feel it. And she came, she saw us, she turned around and left and went to wherever, and she came back, and she gave each of us a very small stuffed animal of her own. Like she gave as a gift, just to make us feel better. One got a little rabbit. I think I got a little lion. Sudevi, just on the on my little thing just behind the. Can you get the lion? It's on the shelf. What was your mascot, Sudevi? Sudevi got a big bunny, Krishna Kripa. Anyway, she just gave them to us just to make us feel better. And we were like, oh my God, that is so sweet. So I just thought that I wanted to share that with you because she just felt it. She was such an empath. Yeah, Dustin, quick. Thank you. So this is what she gave me. Oh, he's a fox. Sorry. Maybe Kripa got a lion. Can you see him? He actually looks like my dad. He had the big white beard and the belly's kind of gone to the back, but yeah, he had the belly and everything. So, can you hold him closer to the camera? He looked like that. Okay. So, Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Jai Gurudev, 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 Jai Gurudev, Jai Gurudev, 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 Jai Prabhupada, 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 Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Gaura Premanande.
Hari Hari Bol.
Gurudev
Ki Jai.
Srila Prabhupada
Ki
ki
Jai.
jai. Rupanuga Gauriya Guru Varga ki jai. Patit Pavana Shri Nityananda Prabhu ki jai.
Jai.
Prem Purushottam Sacinandana Gaura Hari ki jai.
Jai.
Radha Vinod Bihari Ju ki jai.
Jai.
Radha Ramana Ju ki jai.
Jai.
Giriraj Maharaj ki jai.
Jai.
Harinama Sankirtan ki jai.
Jai.
Hare Krishna Mahamantra ki
Jai.
jai. Madhavati Ekadashi ki jai.
Jai.
Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki
Jai.
jai. Nitai Gaura Premanande. Hari Hari Bol. Govinda Damodar Madhaveti. Govinda Damodar Madhaveti. Govinda Damodar Madhaveti. Govinda Damodar Madhaveti. Radhe Radhe Radhe, Jai 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 Shri Radhe. 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 Shri Vinod Bihari Ju ki
Jai.
Jai Jai
Shri
Shri Radhe.
Radhe. Jai Jai Shri Radhe. Jai Jai Shri Radhe. Shyam.
Gaur Premanande.
Hari Hari Bol.
Thank you all for being with us today and giving us the opportunity for remembering the teachings of our Gurudev and our Guru Varga, and also on this day of Mohini Ekadashi to remember the glories of Ekadashi, and also to remember the gifts, the lessons, and the teachings and the grace that I received from my father Mithiladhisa Prabhu. Also, we would like to express our indebtedness to each and every one of you for daily giving us the opportunity to remember to follow the order of our Srila Gurudev, which is our life and soul. We look forward to being with all of you tomorrow. Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat
Hare
Pranam.
Krishna. Radhe Radhe. Radha Vinu Bihari Ju Sacinandana Gaura
Gaura
Hari
Hari
ki
ki
jai.
jai. Jivriyamodamani. Hastamanyana. Kalmilenge. Tatmorgen.
Ma Ashita.
Maashita. Radhe Radhe Shyam. Hey Mom.
Vaishnavi is there.
Hey Vaishnavi. Hey all Vaishnavas.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam.